Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm Lisa Bono. I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager for our ITS division at UC Santa Cruz.
And I'm Cindy Miller, Communications and Engagement Specialist for UC Santa Cruz.
And our third teammate, Cheyenne Matthews-Hoffman, she couldn't be here today. She's our content strategist. We are part of the Experience Strategy and Design team at UC Santa Cruz. And so we just ask, please hold your questions to the end and we'll have plenty of time for discussion. So in 2019, we were going strong with creating new engagement opportunities and programs for our ITS employees. This photo is me and Cindy in front of our ITS kudos tree with branches and leaves that was displayed in a very busy hallway for everyone to notice. Our ITS kudos program is a way for our staff to recognize each other and say thanks. We would take the thank you information, write it on the blank leaf, and then display it on the tree. And then the pandemic hit. And so this photo shows me and Cindy gathering for a social distancing walk on our campus 1 year after we were sent home to work remotely. We were so excited to see each other. As you can see, we embraced. We did not do the social distancing, and even showed up wearing the exact same face mask.
Yes.
That was not planned.
Not planned.
That was truly a very engaging experience for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then this last photo, of course, shows our new reality. This is how Cindy and I work every day together remotely via Zoom. Our entire experience, strategy, and design team is a remote team at UCSC. We live throughout the United States. I live in Seattle, Washington, and Cindy lives in Santa Cruz, California, and our other teammate, Cheyenne, lives in Los Angeles, California.
Mm-hmm.
So at UC Santa Cruz, our ITS employees were definitely struggling, feeling overworked, stressed, burned out, and many of them quit. And even Sammy the slug was a little stressed out. Poor Sammy. We didn't know what was going on, but we assumed it had to do with two major changes. So pre-pandemic in 2018, 2019, our division went through a major reorganization, several reorganizations. And we introduced dual reporting, which meant we had two supervisors. This change was huge for our organization. It caused a lot of worry and a lot of confusion for us. And then in 2020, the pandemic hit. We were all thrust into a very scary world of social distancing. And at the same time, of course, all of us in technology, we worked very hard, very fast, pivoting our campus to online instruction. And I thought this was an interesting stat that I wanted to share with you. According to the 2021 Willis Towers Watson Global Survey, COVID-19 changed everything. Before the pandemic, only 52% of employers thought employee experience was important. After the pandemic, a whopping 92% of employers now think employee experience is an important priority for their organization over the next 3 years. It's a transition for all of us, for sure. So to better prepare for engaging with our employees differently in this new remote future, we launched the Employee Experience Project, which is a component of our department's IT strategic priorities. So Cindy and I were asked to lead this project and write the charter and move our organization into a more employee experience focus, employee engagement organization. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What problem were we trying to solve? Well, our goal was pretty simple. We wanted to learn more about the employee experience from the time they were hired in ITS to the time they left our organization. Mm-hmm. We want our employees to feel happy and engaged, less stress, satisfied with their jobs, finding meaningful in their work. And that's a very tall order. But by taking these first steps, by digging deeper into how our employees are feeling about their experience within our division, we will learn how to better address their needs. And so we were really excited to share what we learned. So our approach, we have 3 objectives for this particular phase 1. The first objective is to collect and synthesize employee-centric information. We did this by gathering information on our existing processes, talking to our employees, which is really important. Cindy's going to talk a little bit more about that later, to find out about what their experience is. We reviewed our employee engagement survey data from Gallup, and then we're reviewing ITS human resources metrics as well. Our second objective is then to map out all this data on an employee journey map. Creating a visual diagram that documents their entire experience will only help us and our managers move forward with showing the gaps that we need to improve on. Third objective is just identifying the insights and opportunities. This is the area where we're at now within our organization. So we're sharing what we learned and recommendations for how to move forward. So before we started this work 6 months ago, a big learning experience for us was first understanding the difference between experience and engagement. They're not actually the same thing. And it's something that we, once we learned the difference between the two, it kind of opened up an aha moment for us, going, oh, okay, that's experience and that's engagement. So experience, as you can see here, is about the employee's perception about their own journey throughout the organization. It's the touch points, it's the recruitment, it's the onboarding and training, it's their growth and professional development, and all the technology and processes. Whereas engagement is the outcome of their experience. It's the emotional commitment we have to our work. It's how we feel about the organization. It's the sense of our work well-being. And that can be through social connections, how we get along with our manager. Is there meaning in the work that we do? So Cindy, could you take the next few slides, and we're going to dive deep into the interviews and the Gallup data.
Yes, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right. So as Lisa said, our first objective was to collect and synthesize employee-centric information. And to do that, we conducted a staff engagement survey from and with Gallup. I interviewed employees, and we reviewed and cataloged our existing processes. In the spring of 2022, we worked with Gallup and ran our first employee engagement survey for all 223 staff. The reason why we conducted this survey was to gather information about our current levels of engagement so that we can take informed action to improve, to benchmark our levels of engagement against higher ed and industry, and track and be accountable to our improvement over time, and to have a starting point on what to work on first. This slide shows we had 75% participation, which is actually a very high response rate, and we're really proud of that. The slide also shows that a little less than half of our staff are already highly engaged. However, 57% of our staff are not engaged or are actively disengaged. The lowest engagement item that the data showed was our staff didn't know what was expected of them at work. That is the foundation of the employee experience. Next, we selected 13 ITS staff members to participate in a 60-minute interview via Zoom. I interviewed a broad range of employees to ensure that we were getting accurate feedback. The interview categories were staff with less than 12 months of service, staff with 12 months to 10 years of service, and then staff with over 10 years of service. The majority of the staff I interviewed were very honored to have been selected to be interviewed and to be a part of the important work of understanding how our employees are feeling and experiencing their work. This interview process was very engaging and increased employee morale just by interviewing. In fact, a few of the interviews lasted up to 2 hours because they were so happy to share their experiences with me. And I felt very honored. Here are just a few quotes I'd like to share directly from our staff. One of the nicest things working here is everyone is very nice. My past job was very negative. UCSC is kind, supportive. Everyone is working to support the students and making sure this is a better university. The goal is clear. And the other one is I enjoy the flexibility, say that again. I enjoy the flexibility of remote work, which allows me to work from any location. And I appreciate the competitive advantage it brings when hiring new staff. Okay, 3 themes emerged from the interviews across all categories of people interviewed. The first is connecting with people is really important to them. But they did not have clear direction who in ITS to meet with. They were not sure who the ITS teams are and what the teams do. And it was very unanimous that work-life balance is evident and valued. Secondly, meaningful work is really important to them, but it is unclear who does what in ITS. Teams are disconnected and siloed, and they had no idea what the divisional goals and priorities are. And third, development opportunities and coaching is really important to them, but teams lack direction and goals. They were unclear how their work ties into the divisional goals, and the managers have no training, guidance, or a connection to the IT leadership team. And mind you, this is from the 13 staff. This isn't coming from me saying this to you. And I'm just curious, by a show of hands, do your organizations capture the data from the employee experience? Oh, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Yeah, great. Thank you for that.
Do you mind sharing?
We can maybe do so with our
Yeah.
email, and information will be provided after. And we have questions after as well. Next, we took all this data and mapped it out. With the survey and interviews under our belt, it's now time to map out our employees' experience to visually see how the data fits together. This mapping exercise is a great way to showcase where we are doing well and the gaps, which we consider areas to focus on for improving the employee experience. If you Google employee journey map, this is an example on the screen of a typical employee's journey. We used these stages and adapted a bit. Our journey map includes the following stages: recruitment and hiring, onboarding, retention, development, opportunities to advance careers, offboarding. Okay, and here's what our map looks like using the Miro whiteboard tool. It's huge. It's so big that I can't show it on this slide. So what I'd like to do, if you give me a moment, I'm going to actually take you to a live Miro board that I specifically created for this presentation. So one moment here.
The Miro tool is a whiteboarding tool that our organization uses quite a bit since we've gone remote. I know our teammates here, Angela and Mary, shared with the UX presentation yesterday that they too use the Miro board. And it's just this online collaborative whiteboard that you can move stickies around and engage in real time with your staff members.
Asynchronously as well. So pretty cool. All right, so I will zoom in a minute, but I want to just give you a little highlight. The 5 stages of the employee journey that I shared in the last slide are at the very top row of the map right here. Okay. Within each stage are multiple actions that happen, which I've documented. I use sticky notes, color coding them to mirror the colors of the stages in the employee life cycle, which you can see on the second row down. On the left side, you will see rows that are showing the various touch points over here. And every time I move, I'm sorry, that comes up, you'll see in a minute. Various touch points in the employee life cycle. This is where we documented the high level touch points of our employees, the operational touch points, our current systems and processes, resources, timing, the employee perspectives gathered from the interviews, and finally, opportunities. In the employee perspective row, which again, I'll zoom in, is this row right here where you see the majority of the colors. You will notice 3 different colored sticky notes. The data in this row is directly from the employee interviews I had, as I said. The green are showing the strengths in each column, the orange are showing the gaps, and the pink stickies are showing the feelings the employees shared, all which pertain to the column that they are placed in. And I can share some of these perspectives with you, but you will notice some blank sticky notes, which are to keep the confidentiality of the data. All right, so first, and please bear with me, you might, some people get dizzy, but here we go. Okay. So the first row, as I said, are the stages of the life cycle that we wanted to highlight. So recruitment and hiring, and you'll see the different stages within the area that we wanted to highlight: launching recruitment, research, invitation, interview, and offer. And then as I zoom in, you'll see the high level touch points that we are capturing in these fields. Okay. And then I will scroll over to show you the purple was the onboarding, with all the different stages within. So welcome and orientation. Do I need to zoom in, or can you see that? Okay, thank you. So within the orientation phase is welcome and orientation, workspace setup, training and job specific onboarding, developing relationships, social integration, performance expectations, ongoing communications and check-ins, and then culture and evaluation feedback. Then the other three, this is another big one too, is retention. So within retention, we have goal setting and performance alignment, collaboration and communication, ongoing performance feedback and coaching, again, culture, and performance eval and recognition. Then we have development, which would be trainings and so forth, opportunities to advance careers, and then offboarding. So I'm going to then zoom out. And I want to highlight, sorry,
This is the
making
dizzy
myself
part.
dizzy. The employee perspectives. All right. So as I said, we have different colored coding here. And each of the colors represent, as I said, the green are strengths, the orange are gaps, and then the pink here are employee feelings. And as I zoom out, I want to highlight areas where we have the most input. And it wasn't that I only put input in the boxes that I did. It's actually the input that I got from my interviews. So under the blue, which is retention, you'll see there's a lot of information here and a lot of green, which was really, really great to see, because knowing our employees were really stressed out and had low morale, I was able to say, actually, they're not doing as bad as we thought, but they are doing bad in some areas, or the engagement is bad. So you can see that the gaps are there. But again, for confidentiality reasons, I didn't share. But this is really neat to see that they love their work, the job security, great work-life balance, customer focus, people are engaged. It was really eye-opening to see this. Okay, and then the last column is our opportunities. And with that, I wanted to tell you what the tool will be used for. So the opportunities were areas that my suggestions and Lisa's suggestions on what we will present to our leadership team for ideas that we
Zoom in on
Oh,
one of
sorry.
those. Yeah.
ideas that we have of what could be done to increase the engagement in certain areas of this map. Train the support desk folks, need to make it transparent who is on what team, make it transparent what work the teams are doing, and so forth. And I want to share that the map will be a tool for our HR manager and supervisors to be able to visualize where the employee life cycle we need to focus our efforts on improving the engagement for our employees. For instance, let's just imagine that there's a big change in our organization. That never happens, right? Our supervisors can review the map to help them prepare how to best communicate the change with their employees and focus on areas in the employee experience where the most communication and engagement is needed. So with that, I'm going to zoom back out and bear with me. We're going to go back to our presentation. And then I'm going to advance. So our last objective is to identify insights and opportunities, which will be included in our final summary and presentation to our IT leadership, of which has not happened yet. So that'll be in August. And then Lisa will wrap it up.
Great. Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
So to wrap up our last deliverable in this first phase is to write our report and our findings. Cindy and I just finished, mostly Cindy, took all that data and just finished the employee mapping and reviewed that with a few of our managers to really figure out, okay, can we take this information and create a summary report for our leadership team? So that's where we are at right now. In fact, next week when we get back from this conference, we're going to start writing our report. So our report will be focused on what we did right, what we did wrong, what do we need to improve, and what are our next steps. And I think some of the things that we did right, first off, our leadership team determined that employee experience was a priority in our division last year. And so they elevated that work to a strategic priority for our division. We chartered the project, which I don't know if any of you charter projects within your organization. That elevates the work as well. We also hired Gallup. That was something that we did right. But it costs money, but we needed to do it because we needed a benchmark. We needed to find out where, really just where we needed to start. And we conducted stay interviews. Cindy conducted those 13 interviews with our staff members to find out, well, are they happy? Are they engaged? What do they wish we can improve on? We also created an ITS internet page that for our ITS staff that mentions this strategic priority. Cindy posts status reports every 2 weeks on the progress that we're making with this initiative. And we are talking about it. We wrote articles about it. So what did we do wrong? Well, there's always lessons learned in a big project like this. We learned that we should have engaged with our staff, human resources, our ITS HR person sooner in the project than later. We brought her on when we first were designing the map, probably a couple months ago, and we should have brought her on at the very beginning because she too is part of her job description is employee experience, employee engagement. She's now very much engaged in the work that we are doing moving forward. We also should have met with our leadership team and celebrated milestones. Cindy and I had our head down working very hard to meet the deadlines of this goal. That it was a big deadline from our vice chancellor. And so that's what we were focused on, just moving the parts on the timeline. When really we should have stopped and paused and said, wow, we just collected 13 conducted 13 interviews. And that was an amazing milestone within this work. Let's share that with the division. Let's share that with our leadership team. So we didn't take enough time to pause and breathe and say, okay, what have we learned from each of these phases? Let's see. Oh, we also learned we were lacking exit interview data. So thankfully our new, our staff HR person in ITS, she's new, about 1 year, I think. And thankfully she is now collecting exit interview data, but we don't have any exit interview data from our staff. So the very end point of our journey map, well, it's going to be a little, there's not going to be a lot of information there. We don't know how our employees feel when they're exiting the interview. Maybe they're retiring and they had a great 25-year run with ITS, or maybe they're leaving because, well, ITS isn't a great place to work. We don't really have that information.
But I think also this is a working map. It's not an end. This is going to be, a minimum viable product, if you will.
Yeah.
And when we get that information, we will plop it in as well. And then we were going to massage it so that it is a working document.
Yep, exactly. And then let's see. I think the last part is really our next steps with our leadership team. We would love to share our summary report with all of you. The timing of the UC conference and the timing of just all the work that we were doing. We wish we had our recommendations for moving forward to present to all of you now, but we won't have those until next month. So we hope to stay engaged with all of you, to collaborate more. If you want to know more about what recommendations and the items that we're actually taking action on for this fiscal year, please let's keep in contact.
So just as thank you for that. I've organized and coordinated a UC-wide employee experience cohort for folks who want to share tips, tricks, and the work they do on their campus in an employee experience. Some of our members are not even in IT, and some might be in the room with us. It's been awesome to get to know colleagues from other UCs, including at UCOP. Thank you, Laurel. We meet once a month on the second Tuesday at 2 p.m. Let me know if you would like to join us. I'm happy to have you, and email me at the above email address. In addition, we've created a Slack channel called the UC Employee Engagement Slack channel. Please join in the conversation. We will share our slides and final report.
And the last thing that I wanted to point out before we open it up to questions is Van Williams pointed out in the opening address at this conference, we're a university of collaboration. And so imagine what we could do collectively for our employees to increase their experience to increase their engagement campus-wide collectively as a university of collaboration. I'd never heard that before, and I really am going to take it and run with it.
Yes, I agree.
So I want to thank my colleague Cindy for presenting,
And thank you.
and thank you, and we'll open it up for questions. Can you say your name and what campus you're with?
Yeah.
And use the mic. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Anthony Schreiber. I work at UC Davis. I wanted to first congratulate you. This is amazing work.
Thank you.
We come from a place where we heavily decentralized Davis, like many of the other UCs, and we have successful teams that have a lot of happiness, if you will, have achieved these goals on their own organically, and a lot of teams that don't.
Sure.
And they aspire to these goals or are not trying.
Mhm.
So I want to first congratulate you. This is awesome work.
Thank you.
I have a couple of things I want to say. Please, I want to know more next year when you come to Davis.
Yes.
I would love to see what happens a year from now.
Let's do it.
Us too, we do
Yeah.
too.
Excellent.
We can't wait to share it too.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. What was I apologize, I came a little
okay.
late. What was the scope and scale? How many people is this targeting in your initial goals?
I interviewed 13 people, and I guess theory is 5 people will give you enough data. 5 interviews would give you enough data to have an understanding. So we did only start off with, I think, 8. And I said, no, we need more. And I honestly would love to interview every staff member in IT.
We have
So
240
yeah.
people in IT.
Is
So
that the goal eventually?
that's my goal. I don't know about if this is going to be in the goal for the strategic priority.
We learned with interviewing, and like Cindy said, we only interviewed 13 people. I think looking back, we probably would have interviewed 26.
Right.
It takes a lot of time and energy to interview
Holy smokes.
5 people. That's why we're like, let's just do 5. And it just wasn't enough. So 13, we targeted 13. We would have liked to have done at least 20,
Mhm.
looking back to get like just a better rounded number and information.
Mhm.
But Cindy had such positive feedback
Mhm.
from staff who were like, thank you so much for asking me how my experience
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And personally, she couldn't attend in person with these interviews, but via Zoom.
Mhm.
And even that was fine. So we want to continue in having the conversations with our staff.
For sure. And you can I anonymized it as much as I needed to. If somebody said you can use my name, I did so in the report that we are going to give to our leadership team, and then decide what the next steps are.
Excellent. I had a second question,
Sure.
which was, and I think you already answered it. If you're on a team that is not achieving these goals that you're set out to achieve, you may find people that are reluctant to talk to HR about how do you feel about where you work and so on. So how awkward those 13
Cindy's not part of
interviews?
HR.
Anyone in any form of authority position to ask, how do you feel about where you are? How well does that go?
I was worried myself, but I didn't run into that. I sent an email out. I copied their manager. I said, you've been invited. It wasn't a mandatory thing, and they were able to say, no, thank you. Not one person did. Yeah. Yeah.
But we were also very transparent with and open with their manager, with our senior leadership team,
Mhm.
especially with their manager. I sent an email to their manager saying, we're actually going to, if it's okay with you, we'd like to interview this
Mhm.
person. Not because this person indicated anything wrong.
Correct.
We just picked that person out of a hat.
Right. And
Basically.
we did share the questions that I was going to ask with their manager, but I did not share any information from any interview with any manager.
And we're happy to share those interview questions with you as well.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. And we've also learned that we want to adapt those questions because they worked in the beginning. And then as I went along, I didn't adapt the questions. So that's another thing learned. Yeah.
We do have a couple questions from online that we'll go ahead and take right now.
Mhm.
Do you think you can share the table with us? And I believe this was done when you were showing the Miro board.
Okay. I can share a template for sure and just take out the identifying information. Absolutely.
Okay,
the
great.
best thing, Barbara, just if that person could email Cindy.
Yes.
Okay.
And our.
I'll
emails
respond to
are-
them and let them know
Yep,
that.
Cindy will be happy to give the link to everyone in this room.
All right, great. And one more from online. Have you measured your results yet? If not, how will you measure?
Yeah, we haven't because we haven't done any action items yet. So
You all are getting a sneak peek, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah.
We haven't presented yet. Our date to present to the leadership team is August 16th. And I will pretty much walk through the deck like this where we will walk through the deck like this when we do present to them. And our findings are, yes, we do have areas to improve, but I also want to highlight, we've made steps to do so because the leadership team has heard snippets of some of the gaps that we have, and they're already making those steps to improve the employee engagement. So that's just awesome.
We'll have
Yeah.
probably in 6 month time, we'll have information on, well, did this particular action item work for our division? One thing we heard loud and clear from the Gallup data was that our staff do not know what is expected of them at work.
Mhm.
That, like Cindy said, is the foundation to employee experience. If you don't know what is expected of you at work, then
Mhm.
how in the heck are you going to, have an enjoyable experience, but just get the work done. So one thing we learned is that some of our managers don't even talk to their staff members about their goals. They don't talk about their job description. They don't talk until the end of the year when a performance evaluation time is near, like we're in it right now for our campus.
Mhm.
It's like, oh yeah, what did you do last year? So our
not.
Or not. Yeah, our leadership team is implementing a 3-month check-in process for our managers. We're going to go through intense training on how to engage your staff every 3 months.
Mhm.
And so we're just starting that program next month. So
Mhm.
gosh, next year, we're going to have so much information to share with you all on if it worked or if it didn't work, or
It will work.
it will work. I like Cindy's attitude. It's
Yeah.
totally going to work.
Yeah, yeah.
So my name is Kent Carpenter from UC Merced. I've worked with the ServiceNow team to do some consulting with them to kind of help. So I have some insight what's been going on. My question is, and you may not focus on this yet, but maybe an output of this you can consider. But I know there's been a lot of change in the CIO position,
Mhm.
and I'm sure there's been an impact on that.
Mhm.
So be curious on that. But out of that, maybe could be some output we all deal with that at some point of our career.
Yeah.
How can existing staff carry the torch while new leadership is transitioning out and in?
Yeah, in 2018, it was, we deemed that year in ITS the year of the interims. And so we had 3 interim CIOs. And so, in fact, one of our interim CIO created a military coin, the coins from it.
Mhm.
And it was a beautiful coin that so many of us still carry around to this day. But and so we've been through, I think, 5 CIOs since 2018 and counting the interims. And so it's always a big change and a big upheaval, and CIOs have different visions and they have different
Mhm.
goals, and we have to adapt. So it's an ongoing struggle, challenge that all of our divisions face. But we do have a new CIO. She's been Ayesha Jackson. She's
Mhm.
been there for about a year now.
Mhm.
So we're hoping that she stays and we're able to move the needle on some of these employee engagement and experience items, and keep it going. The momentum's really strong right now. So,
But then also to answer your question, if it's somebody steps out of the role, as Van mentioned, or no, it was, I'm forgetting Joe. It seems like every 3 years, somebody is changing in the CIO role. But my feeling and my personal goal, if it can happen, is engagement lies with management. And I'm not talking about upper management. I'm talking about management, supervisors, and so forth. So if we can get to a level of training our managers to understand employee engagement and how important it is and how to even increase it, and it's going to be there regardless of who the leader is. So
Yeah.
that's what I really, really hope for.
that's a good point.
Yep.
Management level. These are all really good questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being so engaged.
Hi, Anna Ahern from UCLA.
Hi, Anna.
I love the process. Great to see sort of the research done to understand the problem and then clearly mapping it out to find those next steps. I was wondering if you could talk a little more about how those folks you interviewed were selected.
You know, looking at the organization, I and the research I've done on interviewing folk and also in employee experience, you want to get an understanding of the people who are new in your organization, so that the onboarding, are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? What have you experiencing? And then in addition, you know, the different levels. So also looking at the lifespan, if that's not right, the years of service basically for all of our division and organizing them by numbers. I was able to take more from the over 10 years of service, because actually that's predominantly where our staff are. And so I wanted to increase that area of number of employees that I wanted to interview.
We really randomly picked.
Yeah, we did.
We had a set of 35 new staff people, and we just,
Mhm.
you know, picked based on really just
Nothing.
their years of nothing.
Just like, yeah.
Ah,
Sarah was one of the interviews.
That's it. We did.
Yeah.
Pink Sarah Frost.
Yeah.
Like, yep, yeah, she's definitely gonna be in the list
Yeah.
because she's the coolest person ever.
Yeah.
Also, this is an example of you were part of the employee experience interview process. Do
Right.
you have anything you want to, not to
Well,
put
with
you on
the
the
just a good microphone.
yeah, and not to put you on the spot, but
You kind of did.
but I kind of did. All right, sorry, Sarah.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I felt able to give all the feedback that I wanted to give. I did not feel like there would be any repercussions or any backlash.
Mhm.
And I don't think my feedback was completely positive. I think I had suggestions.
Mhm.
So I felt like I was able to give a fully
Like honest.
Yeah.
unedited
Unbiased.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
feedback. So
But you
it's
know
good.
what? You used some of your suggestions in your talk yesterday.
Really?
You did.
Ah.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We'll have to talk later.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
In terms of the feedback, the suggestions that you got,
Mhm.
did you receive complaints or feedback suggestions that you felt would not be actionable? And did you end up, are you going to like filter those out to present those to management? Okay, you'll just give
Well,
it.
One example would be the buddy program. Like,
Yeah. Well,
well, as an example, or the mentor program. Our new staff would really like to shadow a veteran staff member and learn more about our organization, meet other people. As you pointed out, our organization is what, 57% remote? I don't know. It was a big number.
Yeah.
like
I think it
that.
might be
So
more.
might even be more. But there were big ticket items that were like, wow, that is a great idea.
Mhm.
We don't have the resources right now to even implement that.
Yeah, there's
But we're not going to leave that off the list. Where our recommendations will probably be broken out into 3 chunks. Quick wins.
Mm.
What can we do now that are really great ideas that the 2 of us can do? That we don't really need to even get any other folks involved in
Mhm.
IPS, like our
Mhm.
HR person to do. Then there's going to be a chunk of information that we're just going to hand over to our HR person and say, you know, these are bigger, longer ticketed items where, you know, some training is involved, some development is involved. You know, this is what we recommend for our staff HR person to work on.
And I'm not leaving anything out when I'm sharing it. So what I also did, and I don't think I can show this to you, but maybe next year, as we said. I created a Google sheet, a spreadsheet, and I included every single comment, regardless of good, bad, or ugly, in this spreadsheet. And it somewhat mirrors my map that I shared with you. And it highlights the gaps and every opportunity that you might have shared, that anybody that I interviewed shared, regardless of if we have resources or not, is going to be handed over to our leadership team.
Without names.
Correct. We have a course.
Hi, I'm Stephanie with UC Davis, and I There's a group made up of smaller groups of really important people in our organizations that never get to come to these. And there
Oh.
are desktop services or service desks, the people who are on the phones with
Mhm.
humans,
Mhm.
which a lot of people in IT or IT don't have to do. They're on their front line. Did you have anybody in your group that have that type of experience? And they're also a represented group where it comes to unions. So their experience and job satisfaction and other things are really, really quite different as well.
Well, I mean, we don't have that many people that do that, that are on the phones. I don't know. We have maybe 20 some odd people. I don't know exactly, but it's,
Our first tier of support are our student.
we need to work
employees.
on, yeah.
But we do have people who are in roles that, demand them to be on campus,
Mhm.
demand that,
And I did speak to a few of
Yeah,
them,
they-
yes.
and we made sure, we said we drew names out of a hat. We didn't we did
Yeah,
draw their names out of a hat, but then we said, okay, what is their position within the organization?
Mhm.
So we didn't want to interview all managers.
Yeah,
We
that's
didn't-
right.
We didn't want to interview all second tier, we made sure like, okay, this person's role is this. Yeah, that would be interesting
Mhm.
to talk with that person.
The boots
So,
on the ground.
Yeah,
Mhm.
boots on the ground, folks.
And I think, as we said, we want to adapt and iterate, correct? So if we are able to do more interviews, I agree with you. I think interviewing more people in positions like what you're talking about. And then I even thought about, I didn't interview one leadership person. That might be a really interesting conversation.
We have a couple more online questions. What are your what are your plans in continuing and keeping the momentum of this work? And are you going to conduct quarterly short surveys or Gallup surveys once a year or every 2 years?
That's a great question.
So at the moment, we are not contracted with Gallup because as we all know, we're working through budget. My hope is that we run a survey in another year because it's kind of a better, in my opinion, and what I've learned is you don't do an employee engagement survey every year because you need time to try and work out what you found were gaps. So you want to be able to measure that. And that's why I'm thinking in another couple of years. And so that's going to be one of my recommendations. My other recommendation will be a pulse survey so that we can, after we present this information, we want to see, we haven't presented this to leadership as well, but that's going to be a recommendation as a pulse survey. Quarterly, I think that's too much. But in addition to that, my title is communications and engagement. And Lisa's title is communications and engagement manager. So together, the two of us are going to work towards how can we communicate better in the areas of which we need to communicate better with our staff to engage them more. And then also, I think working with other people within the other university, other UCs, we had many hands that raised. Why not we share information? Why not share ideas so that we can all do this together?
And another question we have online, did you take into consideration covering different groups that may have different experiences like people with disabilities or other unrepresented groups?
Oh, that's a good question. And we did not.
Well, also,
We didn't.
I don't
I don't
think
think we have that information.
I don't think we have the information to look at, who has a disability? Let me go talk to them. I mean, not that we don't have that information. And I don't know that yes, I would include that, right? But I'm not going to specifically focus in on that. We can't. Yeah.
But that is something to look
Mhm.
at when we do the next round of interviews.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mojgan Amini, UC San Diego. Thank you for doing this and presenting it to us. So you mentioned, oops, we didn't include the HR person up front, and then we rolled that in, et cetera. So you're going to present some outcomes in some, prioritized groupings, et cetera. Somebody will roll some of these changes out, however you decide to do that. Are you involved in that? Are you gonna, I'm just wondering what the change management process is. Do you have something formal
I think-
planned to
I
get?
think it's, yeah, that's a good question. I think that it depends on the change. I'm the communications manager for our division. So yes, I will be involved in anything that our leadership team decides to move forward on to communicate to our staff. It could be that we're building it into our onboarding process. Cindy does a lot of employee engagement with our onboarding process already. And she sends a welcome letter that has a lot of information to our new staff. We highly engage our new staff. We're not great at engaging our staff who have been here more than 5 years, our career staff, as we've been calling them. So we'll both be very involved in the rollout process, even if it's a few items that we hand over to our HR person. If she says, let's just, for example, she rolls out something within the next 9 months or so to the division, we'll both be involved because we're communication as well.
And she is on the cohort group that I host once a month. And so she's very involved. It's a passion of hers. It's a matter of, what are her goals, and 1, 2, 3. As we know, priorities have an S and it's not supposed to, right? Priority is a priority, not priorities. Just saying.
That's a whole nother presentation. Who invented the word priority?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Kristen Ashton
Oh, thank you.
from UCLA.
I know. Thank you.
In the depths of the big group we are. Back to Miro and what a great tool
Miro.
that is.
Miro.
Miro.
Mhm.
Not mural, Miro.
Correct.
In the journey mapping process, what I've found, and I'm hoping that it would be great if you also included scrubbed and massaged, of course, a visualization of all that data, because I do find when I'm putting together executive summaries or leadership summaries, a whole deck is great, especially if it's short, 5 slides or something, but having the journey map really cleaned up and fun, even having all those data points, or as many as you can that are safe to share, for people to be able to say, oh, how did they figure that out? And they can go in and really see all the quotes. They can see the emotion path. They can see the actual process, maybe depending on how you design it. So I'm hoping you have all that.
It sounds like you've done it.
Yes, she
Yes.
has.
Could you
And I'm
please
just
share that with us? Oh, that came up, and this will be our last question. We'll wrap it up because we have just 1 more minute left. 2 minutes. Okay. I suggested that to my manager. This Miro board, this employee journey map, it's big, it's complicated. If we show this as is to our leadership team, my eyes roll out. I mean, I don't even understand it. Cindy understands this because she put the data together, but she said, nope, let's leave it as is. Let's show them that this is a lot of information. This is a lot of work. This is a working tool. What else did she say? It's big. Let's not hide the fact that it's big. So I still want to get in there and do a pretty version of a road and a map.
And I happen to know that those
Yes.
team in the front row.
I was
will
just gonna
help you
say
with
that.
all that, the
Yeah.
experience.
Yep. So we
Yep.
do, as I said, it's going to iterate and improve as we go. This is the first iteration, if you will. And we are going to be partnering with Mary and Angela and somebody named Megan, and of course our leader, Phyllis.
Our amazing UX team.
Yeah. So we're just going to have different versions of it. And yes, I'm sure it's going to get prettier, and I'm sure there's going to be more data points added. So yes, you are correct.
Great.
But we're going to show this beast to the leadership team.
Get ready.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you all
Thank
so
you all
much.
so much. I appreciate it.